Hello and welcome to your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated, but is never duplicated. Now, some of you people might remember, uh, I think it was about the end of 2021, I had the pleasure of introducing you to the first Black mayor of Kansas City, Kansas. Now, not Kansas City, Missouri. They have a Black mayor also. But I'm talking about this was the first Black mayor for Kansas City, Kansas, or known as Wyandotte County. Now, his name was Tryonne Garner, and he was a former deputy police chief before, well, he basically was retired, and he was uh, requested by several of his reporters to run for mayor of Kansas City. So apparently he was rather popular as a police officer and had a lot of friends in the community. And they felt like he had shown some leadership capabilities and qualities and wanted him to run for mayor. And he did, and he won. Now he was excited about winning this position because he was a very community oriented individual. He believed in the community of Wyandotte County, the Black community. Now, Wyandotte County is a little different than your average county or city because they have what they call a unified government type of it's not like a mayor council. This is where it's a unified government, and it's a body of individuals that basically control Wyandotte County. So the mayor won, and he had a lot of items and a lot of changes that he wanted to make. He wanted to improve the quality of life for his constituents in Wyandotte County, which has a relatively high number of African Americans. Now, what he didn't encounter was what would happen to him over the next 2 to 3 years. So let's move forward to today. And Mayor Tryonne Garner is the equivalent to a comedian who used to have as his hashtag basically, I don't get any respect. And his name was Rodney Dangerfield. Now, many of you will remember Rodney. He was a quite popular comedian Black in the, I don't know, what, 80s, 90s, whatever. But anyhow, Mayor Garner today does not get any respect as the mayor of Wyandotte County. All right? Now, I'm not just saying that. I think he would be the first to tell you that. And how do I know that? Because he's basically already said that in a opinion piece that he wrote just a few days ago. And we want to get into that, and I'll show you what's happening, because basically he's been reduced to, and these are my words, he's been reduced to mayor in name only. And let's get into this and tell you why. Now, he gave this interview to a newspaper reporter last week, and this is what he had to say. Now, he says, literally, I'm terrified by what goes inside the united government. So, of course, the reporter who had turned off his mic took out his pen and notebook and began to hear more. No, Mayor Garner is not terrified for his physical safety, he said, but by the thought of all the questionable things that might be going on inside the united government, he doesn't even know about. Now, this is the mayor, okay? And the mayor of the city is supposed to be in the know on everything that's going on in the city. But in his case, there's a lot of things that are going on, and I don't know whether or not it's proper for me to say under the table, above the table. I don't know. But there's things that he is not privy to that's going on in his city. Okay? Now, he says, there are some things in this building that are questionable. I feel very uncomfortable because of some of the red flags I've seen since taking office in 2021. Now, that's unusual. Those are statements and sentiments that you normally don't hear from a mayor, because a mayor normally, as I said, is informed and is knowledgeable about everything that's going on in his city. This is not the case in Kansas City, Kansas. So uncomfortable, he said, that I've turned things over to the authorities, including the information that led to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation's 2022 probe into alleged misuse of the taxpayer-funded purchasing cards that had been issued to 363 employees who were charging an average of $7 million a year on those cards. Now, they don't say what they were consuming or what they were paying for, but $7 million a year, those government issued cards were being charged of taxpayers' money. He says that was me, saying he was the one that turned over the information because he suspected there was some funny stuff going on. Okay? This place scares me, he said. That investigation was closed, a spokeswoman for the KBI told me, after Wyandotte County District Attorney Mark Dupree, who is, by the way, an African American, his office decided not to file any charges in the case. Why was that? I don't know, since neither Dupree nor his spokesman, Jonathan Carter, answered my questions about it. So you see, here's a mayor, okay? A mayor who is suspicious of government issued cards being abused and misused by 363 employees who were using these cards to charge an average of $7 million a year. Now, that's a lot of money. I mean, all of these people, I certainly like to think, were not traveling, were not going on trips. So how does this money rack up to $7 million a year? Okay, I'm sure that's what he wants to know. Now, and Garner is not the only United Government official, elected official, who is troubled by questionable things. At Wednesday night's Board of Public Utilities meeting, board member Rose Mulvaney Henry said there is so much general dysfunction in Kansas City, Kansas, that she is considering resigning. Now, this is an elected official, okay? And she too is concerned about some strange things that are going on in the United Government in Wyandotte County. I didn't say I'm leaving, but I'm definitely doing some thinking and praying on whether or not I'm making a difference, she said. She told me in a phone interview Thursday, folks are clamoring for help and having difficulty getting by. And if I'm leaving at the end of the day, a lot of days questioning whether or not I'm making a difference. A lot of folks who come into local government recently don't love to hear, but that's the way we've always done it. Does that sound familiar to any of you? Because this is what happens in a lot of cities, okay? You get people that are in positions and have been in positions for a period of time, and they get accustomed to doing things a certain way. And in a lot of cases, nobody raises an eyebrow, okay? It's called the good old boys network, okay? And when somebody like a Tryonne Garner comes in, okay, and wants to upset the apple cart, they don't like it, okay? Because they've always done it this way. And why is he questioning how we do it and why we do it this way? We don't like being questioned, all right? So she says, I'm very troubled by the prospect. I'm sorry, this wasn't her. I'm very troubled by the prospect of Mulvaney Henry stepping down BPU board member David Haley, who is a senator, a state senator in Kansas, okay, and then his district covers Wyandotte County. And he says, I'm very troubled by the prospect of Mulvaney Henry stepping down. We can't go back to leaving everything up to the will and whim of staff with no oversight. And that's what's going on. And this is one of the things that has the mayor upset. No oversight. More or less forever, he said, there have been excesses, especially among employees and subcontractors. Now, this is David Haley, Senator Haley. It was run like a big candy store. A city and a city government being run like a candy store? Man. After Garner retired from the Kansas Police Department in 2019, he moved out of Wyandotte County. I was one of those individuals that said, you know, I don't see the value in living in Wyandotte County. So I moved to Johnson County like a lot of other folks. And Johnson County, unlike Wyandotte County, is just as different as night and day. You see, Johnson County is one of the wealthiest counties in the state of Kansas, while Wyandotte is one of the poorest in the state of Kansas, okay? So he moved from Wyandotte, after retiring from the police department, over to Johnson County, where he was living comfortably. But as I said at the beginning, a lot of his supporters urged him to move back to Wyandotte and run for mayor. And he was convinced that that was not a bad idea. And with his idea of reshaping the agenda and improving the quality of life in several different ways for the people of Wyandotte County, he moved. He ran for mayor and he won. But little did he know that the changes, the improvements, the agendas that he wanted to instill and install were going to face such opposition from, as I said, the good old boys at the United Government. They've been there. This guy's a newcomer. He's coming in. He wants to upset the apple cart. And he's black. All right? So naturally, what happens? He faces obstacles from the very beginning. Now, he only moved back to run for mayor in the election held in November of 2021 because some folks asked me to move back to run. He did that because he thought maybe he could help, he said. I lost my house coming back here, a house he couldn't afford to get back into now, he adds. And I was naive. I thought I could get in there and change things. I struggled, he said, because of the nepotism and the cronyism that has been the story of this city. See, this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The cronyism, the good old boy network, the nepotism, hiring relatives, and all this, everything to keep doing things that they've always done them. Okay? You see, they don't want anybody upsetting the apple cart. They don't want any improvements. They've got their thumb on the pulse of Wyandotte County, and they want to keep it that way. So they don't want to let this guy in, and they don't want him to have any authority, and they don't want to have any power. He's got a title. His title says he's the mayor, but he's a mayor who has no authority and no power. Now listen to this. Would he move back again to run, I ask him, knowing what he knows now? I don't know. I don't know. It's challenging. To answer that, I would say yes, because people I've talked to have said, Mayor, if you had not been in the position, we would not have had a voice. And that's what he is. He's a voice, but it's a voice that can't make any changes, can't shape the agenda like he thought he could, and like they hoped he would. Mayor, if you had not been in that position, and if I hadn't done anything else, I think that I've educated pockets of our community to how our government runs and doesn't run. Now, these are the things that a lot of people need to know about their city and their form of government. You need to be able to understand what the people that you're elected can and cannot do. Because many of these people, like he says, he was naive. He didn't fully understand the workings of the United Government. He didn't know about the good old boy network. He just knew that the constituents in Wyandotte County were being underrepresented. The properties were being undeveloped. The city is one of the highest property rates in the state, and he wanted to make changes. He thought he could make changes. He set about to make changes to improve that community. Many residents are so fed up that public comment time at commission meeting has been borderline Jerry Springer at times, Garner said. So what now? The United Government was never going to disunify. Asking residents how they felt about unification, as Edwardsville Mayor Carolyn Kyer did on her own time, was, according to Garner, part of an effort not to pull the government back apart, but to gather information that might help officials think about the unintended consequences of unification and how those might be addressed. Now, one thing he learned through that effort, which was announced last fall, is that it's a violation of our code of ethics to talk about changing the form of government. You see, this is what I'm talking about. They don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to discuss it because they are set in their ways and they have the power. They have the authority. They have the control. Okay? So even though you bring in a Black mayor into a county that has a relatively high number of African Americans and Hispanics in that community, they still want to have control and power and authority. And he says, yet it's clear that more audits are as urgently needed as ever, along with changes to the charter to reform a bureaucracy that in many ways still operates like the machine the unification was supposed to dismantle, only as a bunch of mini fiefdoms. Do I think that a different mayor could, under the current system, do more to root out the corruption, the qualification, and inequity as Tryonne Garner describes? Not really. No, though others might be less willing to talk about it. You see, that's the thing. And there is what has Tryonne Garner, Mayor Tryonne Garner, so upset, is that he was naive and he felt comfortable talking about it. He felt that he could make a difference. He felt he could get through to these United Government officials to make some changes, to improve his community. But it wasn't about to happen. Now, that he has essentially opened a vein here is a kind of cri de coeur to his fellow commissioners as well as to his constituents to stop accepting the status quo. I know there's a movement that everything's great, but you've got a lot of dissatisfied individuals. It's not hard to see why he's one of them. Now, let me listen, I want you to listen because it gets worse here. What is particularly unexcusable in a county where 1 in 5 children lives in poverty, where there are vast food deserts, not only historic, but real-time redlining, crushing taxes, and electric rates. And where, because development has not benefited those who need it most, The mayor is right when he says it looks like somebody dropped a bomb on northeast Wyandotte County. All right? Garner is frustrated too by his inability. Now, listen, this is the mayor. In his ability to make change happen or even get information out of UG employees that he has no ability to hire, fire, demote, or discipline. The mayor has no authority, no power. Listen to this. At one time, the mayor was an authority figure, but according to him, that's no longer the case. When the governments of KCK, Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County merged to become the United Government in 1997, the whole idea was to crack down on corruption, spur development, and do away with one layer of bureaucracy. But it didn't happen. It didn't turn out that way. But the way the charter was written had a bunch of unintended consequences too. In Garner's view, essentially putting staff, now listen to this, staff in charge, though they're unaccountable to either elected officials or the voters. So he cannot even issue an order to staff because they report to him, but they don't consider him their supervisor. They don't consider him as having any power, any authority. Now, then in 2022, the United Government Commissioners voted to undercut the mayor's power further by limiting what had been his chief ability, which was to set the agenda for commissioners. Previously, he could stop a proposal from even going to a vote, but now he can't. No power, no authority. Mayor in name only. A lawful, duly elected mayor in a city in the state of Kansas that does not have any power, any authority, and any control. He cannot issue an ultimatum to any staff member and expect to get the desired results. In a compromise Garner agreed to, he can send a proposal back to a standing committee once and once only. But when it comes back out of committee, it goes to a vote whether he agrees or not. He can also veto a proposal, but with a veto that can be overridden by a majority of commissioners. That change did degrade the authority the mayor has, Garner said, but I compromised because if I hadn't, I would have been down to running the meeting and taking selfies with babies and grandmas. The mayor, in name only. Now, I just provide leadership, whatever that means, and the county administrator reports to me, but does that mean that I supervise him or that he gives me a report? Mostly, he says, I can advocate just like you can. And he's talking to the reporter. I can advocate just like you can, but my voice is no greater than yours, even though I'm a lawfully, dutifully elected mayor. He says, and he can use leverage, but as a non-politician, he says that he's not entirely comfortable doing that. It's like I'm sitting in the middle of a lake in a boat and there's no way to row it. He's had UG employees refuse even simple requests, like fixing a pothole in a street, clearing trash, or providing information that might help him get clarity on what's happening inside a bureaucracy that seems to feel free to ignore him. Once the commission approves anything, he says, it goes to staff. In other words, you're skipping a step. Instead of it going to the mayor and then the staff, excuse me, it goes from commissioners to the staff. So they eliminate the mayor completely. This is why he doesn't know what the hell is going on. He's not informed. He's uninformed. Staff has the complete discretion to spend the money as they choose, to decide who and what gets resources, where and when. The problem I see is that the mayor and commissioners can't get a pothole fixed because by our charter, we can't tell staff what to do. Who the hell's in charge here? What kind of government is this? How in the world do the voters continue to allow this to happen? I've had employees tell me no, not on our do list, Mayor. I've had doors slammed in my face. Why is there this level of obstruction? Since I've been mayor, I haven't gotten the level of cooperation and support as mayors that I've come to know from the past. Because I'm Black, I don't know what it is. Commission meetings or borderline Jerry Springer shows. This from the first, let me say this, he's the 31st mayor of Kansas City, Kansas. He's the first Black mayor. And he's the first mayor with absolutely no power, no control, and gets no respect. How in the hell is he supposed to feel? And how in the hell is his constituents supposed to feel when if the mayor's not getting respect, they sure are not getting any respect? And then when he has the audacity, as far as they're concerned, to speak up and try to make changes, we come back with, this is the way we've always done things. And what is unsaid is we're not about to upset the apple cart to please you and your constituents. Okay? 1 in 5 children live in poverty. Okay? The city is underdeveloped. The constituents are underserved. And yet, they have a mayor who's a mayor in name only. Ladies and gentlemen, this is unacceptable and should be unacceptable not only to the mayor, but to the voters and the constituents in Kansas City, Kansas. I must admit, I'm not really that familiar with Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. But I have to believe with the number of African Americans and Hispanic Americans that are in that city, in that county, you have the power to change things if you all will unite and stand together and not ask for change, but demand change, demand respect, demand that your mayor, who was duly elected by you, the constituents, and the voters of Wyandotte County, you all have to band together and do it as a group. No individual is going to make the difference. But you've got to send a clear message to the united government that just because this is the way we've always done it, doesn't mean that's the way we always have to do it. And just because it's the way we've always done it, doesn't mean that it was always right. You know, there's a time for change in everything. And it's time for change. in the united government and the political leanings in Kansas City, Kansas, in Wyandotte County. And as the mayor is watching this, Mayor Garner, you and I served together on the Kansas African American Affairs Commission back in 2013, 2014. Sir, I know you to be a good man. I know you to be a strong man. Do not allow these people to make you weak, to make you give up. No, sir. You make up your mind that you're going to be determined to do what you were elected to do and what you came into office wanting to do. Bring about a change in the way that your constituents and your people that elected you in Wyandotte County, in Kansas City, Kansas, the way they interact and demand respect from the people that are supposed to be running that county and that city along with you in a respectable manner that is respectable, respectful, and uplifting to the residents that you serve is what it's due. Okay? All right, folks, that's a sad story. It's a very unpleasant story for me to bring to you. But, as usual, hey, I have to do what I do. Like I said, I don't sugarcoat anything here on this program. I don't hold back anything. So, Mayor, good luck to you, my friend, and I wish you the best. Thanks for watching.